24th, 1415, the English army had reached Agincourt. In front of them, 30,000 Frenchmen blocked their way to Calais and to safety. It had been raining for days, they were short of food, and dysentery affected large numbers of soldiers. The English, by Henry's orders, passed the night quietly in prayer. Shakespeare shows Henry praying, worried about the outcome, and questioning his ability to get his men through the battle.
O God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts. Possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning. If the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them, not today, O Lord, oh not today. Think not upon the fort my father made encompassing the crown. I, Richard's body have interred anew, and on it have bestowed more contrite fears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I built 2 chantries where the sad and solemn priests still sing for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all I can do is nothing worth, since that my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon.
Early on the morning of the 25th, knights and men at arms put on their armour. This was no easy undertaking. First on went a padded coat and trousers, then the chainmail and plate armour that was laced, strapped or riveted on. Once equipped, there was nothing the men of both sides could do except wait, and it would be many hours before the battle would start in earnest. Henry assembled his commanders and his brothers about him. All are concerned about their chances of victory as the king enters. The Earl of Westmoreland laments that they had more men.
Of fighting men they have full 70,000.
There's 5 to 1. Besides, they are all fresh.
Oh, that we did have here now. But 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
What is he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland, no fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. But if to live, the fewer men the greater share of honour. God's will, I pray thee, ask not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous of gold. I care not who shares upon my cost. If men my garments wear, it yearns me not. These things do not dwell on my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honour, then I am the most offending soul alive. God's peace, Westmoreland. Ask not a man more from England. I would not share so greater honour as methinks one man would share from me of the greatest hope that I have. Ask not a man more, rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host. Let he that has not the stomach for this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and coins for convoy put into his purse. We shall not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian, and he that survives this day and comes safely home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that lives this day to see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbours and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. And then he will strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispian's day. Old men forget, all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages the feats he did this day. And then our names, familiar as household words in his mouth, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Talbot and Warwick, Salisbury and Gloucester, all in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This tale shall the good man tell his son, and Crispian will ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, that we in it will be remembered. For we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, For any man who sheds his blood with me upon this day shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. For gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed that they were not here, and shall hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks who fought with us upon St. Crispian's Day.
Hooray! All day the French stood. They didn't need to fight. The English were already trapped. If they attempted to move, the French knights would cut them to pieces. They also, as we now know, had a well thought out battle plan, but with no effective overall command, it would be difficult to implement. As the afternoon wore on, Henry was desperate to force a battle. So he ordered his army forward and repositioned the archers' protective stakes. The French could restrain themselves no longer and launched the first of many uncoordinated charges. Michael Drayton takes up the story one more time. They now to fight are gone, armour on armour shone, drum now to drum did groan, to hear was wonder.
That with the cries they made, the very earth did shake. Trumpet to trumpet spake, thunder to thunder.
Well, in thine age became, O noble Effingham, which did the signal aim to our forces.
When from a meadow by, like a storm suddenly, the English archery stuck the French horses.
With Spanish yew so strong, arrows a cloth yard long, that like a serpent stung, piercing the weather.
None from his fellow starts, but playing manly parts, and like true English hearts, stuck close together.
When down their bows they threw, and forth their bilboes drew, and on the French they flew, no one was tardy.
Arms were from shoulders sent, scalps to the teeth were rent. Down the French peasants went, our men were hardy.
This while our noble king his broadsword brandishing, down the French host did swing, as to overwhelm it.
And many a deep wound bent, his arms with blood besprent, and many a cruel dent bruised his helmet.
The reality of Agincourt was for the soldiers far more brutal. The French had unfurled the oriflamme, the battle flag of France, and a signal that no quarter would be given, at least to the commoners. The French attacked again and again, but with no centre of command, the French lords simply threw more and more men into the chaos and carnage of the dead and dying. They marched or rode forward through the mud under a deadly hail of arrows that struck them down into the drowning mud, killed their horses and anyone who didn't own a full suit of armour. Some could barely see or breathe. Their visors had restricted vision, and if they opened them up, like as not, they'd be hit by an arrow. And when the arrows ran out and exhausted, the French made it over their dead to the English lines, where the English men-at-arms fought them hand to hand. About them, bare-legged, with no shoes, danced the archers, their daggers stabbing through the joints of French armour, or shattering it with mallets and axes. Michael Drayton's poem continues. Upon St. Crispin's Day, fought this noble fray, which fame did not delay to England to carry. Oh, when shall English men with such acts fill a pen, or England breed again such a King Harry? Agincourt was not a long battle. It lasted perhaps 3 hours. English casualties were very light, although some may have died later. The French lost over 10,000 men, including most of the leading nobles. France's military power was shattered for a generation. After his victory, Henry sailed from Calais to Dover and then rode on to London. It is almost certain that he would have visited Eltham, sitting on its ridge beside Watling Street. The reception Henry received from London was amazing. Fountains ran with wine, Huge effigies were displayed and the streets were decked with flags and banners. And we don't know who wrote the Agincourt Carol. It was probably originally sung to Henry during his triumphal return to London. It's the only contemporary poem or song about Agincourt that we have. It's written in English. Here is the Agincourt Carol, or to give it its original title, Give Thanks to God, England, for the victory, or in Latin, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
Our king went forth to Normandy with grace and might of chivalry. There God for him wrought marvellously. Wherefore England may call and cry, Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
He set a sage, for sooth to say, to Harfleur town with royal array. That town he won and made a fray, that France shall rule to doomsday.
Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
Then went our king with all his host through France for all the French boast, till he come to Agincourt coast.
Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
Then forsooth that night comely, in Agincourt field, he fought manly. Through grace of God most mighty, he had both the field and the victory.
Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
Their dukes and earls, lord and baron, were taken slain, and that well son, and some were led to London with joy and mirth and great renown.
Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria. Now gracious God, he save our king, his people and all his well-willing. Give him good life and good ending, that we with mirth may safely sing. Deo gratias, Deo gratias Anglia, Rede pro Victoria.
In a list of local townsfolk now, you will surely find Smith, Shipwright, Coleman, Carter, Woods, Taylor, Bowyer, Sawyer, Clark, Gosling, Fletcher, Archer, Shepherd, Skinner and Tanner too. So as you walk around our town, just bear this in mind. Though no one kept a proper list of workers such as they, their 20 times great-grandfathers were there on Agincourt Day. The men of Kent and Kentish men all had their part to play. From the royal parks of Eltham, woodsmen felled 80 oak trees. To Woolwich the carters trundled these were shipwrights, living in alleys constructed for us 3 galleys. When we'd said farewell to our folks, they ferried us with some horses, bows, swords and lances over the choppy channel. So Harry of England could take his chance to make himself also King of France. And a major part of those who went were we Kentish men and the men of Kent. The Fletchers made our arrows and the Bowyers made our bows. The body can cover a longbow and keep our arrows dry. So we slept on our weapons. For the drier we kept them, the further the arrows would fly. We earned the respect of those Frenchmen with our speed and our accurate aim. So we won the Battle of Agincourt and we won eternal fame. And the men of Kent and Kentish men their place in history claim. So as you toast 600 years since some of us died on a foreign field, hang on to hope, cast down your fears, clutch your own truths, the points you never yield, loyalty to England and love for your own place. Let none of our actions on Eltham bring disgrace. Okay, so we're Londoners now, but way back when, east of the Medway were men of Kent, and here we're the Kentish men.